All right, all right. Welcome into the A to Z Sports Big Orange Podcast. I am Charlie Burris. That is Zach Reagan. Wherever you listen throughout the world, we thank you for listening to us. Zach and I talk everything Vols every week here on the Big Orange Podcast. And if you want to listen to that regularly, go over to the A to Z Sports Podcast Network feed on Apple or Spotify. When you get there, rate, review, but you got to subscribe. If you do subscribe, you won't miss our shows when we drop them on Mondays, except we couldn't do Monday this week because something Zach had to go do. So we are live on Tuesday. But if you go and subscribe on the YouTube channel, A to Z Sports Tennessee Volunteers, it won't matter when we go live because you can be notified by hitting the notification bell on YouTube. Be notified when we go live. So anytime you can drop everything that you're doing. It doesn't matter if you're in the middle. Let's say that you're at a funeral. You get the notification that we're going live. You walk out of that funeral and you tune into the show. You can do that. I'm sorry, that's kind of crass, isn't it?
I didn't know where this was going.
Do not walk out of any funerals for our show, please. At Charlie_Burris, that's AcTNT. At A to Z Sports, Facebook.com/A2Z Sports National, A2ZSports.com for everything that Zach writes on the internet. Oh boy. We really saw something this weekend, Zach, that I wasn't sure I was ever going to see again. It feels a little bit how I felt when I don't want to draw exact conclusions here. The one I'm about to mention was much, much better than this. But the show we did after the baseball national championship, obviously that's a national championship. This was beating a 3-win Florida team in the Swamp. But they're both things that I wasn't sure I was ever going to see in my lifetime because it felt like we were never going to beat these guys in the Swamp. They actually did it, Zach. What's up, man?
I think it was about 7 minutes to go in that game, 6 minutes to go, somewhere there before I was finally like, all right, this is going to happen. Like up until that point, I was on pins and needles still, just like that Texas A&M South Carolina game from the weekend before where they blew the 30-point lead. That just kept popping in my head. I was like, please don't let this happen. But thankfully, Josh Heupel's not Shane Beamer, and nothing even close to that happened. It was a fun one. It was. I'm like
Super
you.
fun.
It was probably the next day before I could really take it in and really digest it.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's sort of this two-edged sword to it where you won in the Swamp for the first time in 22 years and you won by 20, which is awesome. Also, it's a 3-win Florida team, and you did what you should have done 15 times over in the Swamp over the last 20 years, or 10 times over, or whatever it was. And you kind of feel like, well, why didn't we just do that all those other times? This looked easy. They just went in, just smashed these guys' head in with a lead pipe. It was brutal from the very beginning. Florida was completely demoralized. It was beautiful. Honestly, we're probably not even going to talk about the Florida game that much in this. It's going to be mostly about Vandy. But I agree. It was really till the next day after I did the post game with Crompton where I truly went like, man, they finally did that. They really did. What a time to be alive. And what a special game with Joey Aguilar. I tweeted that one out. Where I just went like, who could have seen this coming where this kid was going to come in this abbreviated amount of time, go and win in the Swamp. You have a chance to go 9-3 if you do what you're supposed to do this weekend. Go 9-3, win in the Swamp. Like it's a special year, even though it's been a little wonky and we've had some moments where we weren't our happiest. Obviously,
yeah. There was two things that made that game special. I thought one was what you're talking about with Joey Aguilar, because really you look back. I mean, he really beat Georgia if you think about it. He did everything he could in that game. The offense, we know the missed field goal, some of the decisions that were made kind of robbed Joey of having that win as well, and it would have been Georgia and a win in the Swamp, which would have been insane. But also the fact that Urban Meyer was at that game and was honored while the game was like 28-0. When they brought him out there
so good.
He's being inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame next month, and he was being honored for that. And he gave a little speech to the team, and it wasn't oh, I know how this season's gone. I mean, that's not Urban. We know Urban. I mean, this guy is the motivator of all motivators. And his speech was all about beat your rival, beat Tennessee. This is what Florida does. All of that. I know it's like you said, it's a 3-win Florida team, but they did beat Texas. They played Ole Miss really close the previous week. So talent all over the field, just not well coached. The Billy Napier era just didn't go well. Probably should never fire Dan Mullen, but I don't care about any of that. The state of the team, because like you said, Tennessee's gone down there and lost to some not good Florida teams. I mean, they lost to Will Muschamp and Jim McElwain, and they beat Jim McElwain once, but they lost to him a few times. They lost to Dan Mullen before he got fired. It just happened that Tennessee had the worst coaches, even worse coaches than Florida at those times. Those were the Dooley years and Butch Jones and Jeremy Pruitt, obviously. But it really was a special night for everybody in that program. Agular, who probably really doesn't even know what it means to beat Florida in the swamp. No. I mean, he's been
probably why he was able to do it, frankly.
Yeah, a lot of those guys. I mean, there was nobody on that offense that started that game that came to the swamp 2 years ago, which is crazy. Not one of those starting players was on this team and had ever played in the swamp before. So, yeah, a lot of those guys probably it'll take them a while to really understand the magnitude of what they did. I know they talked about it a lot, but unless and this isn't to fans are fans, players are players, but unless you've went through that actual 20 years of just watching this happen year after year after year and having that hopeless feeling that we've talked about on the show so many times, it is hard to kind of understand the magnitude of what that game meant, because any outsider, you look at that and it's like, oh, you beat a 3-win team on the road where Kentucky has won in the past couple of years. It's not that big of a deal, but to us it is, and it should be. It was a huge win for Tennessee and something that they needed to do under Josh Heupel to take another step forward in this program, regardless of Florida's record or what their situation is right now.
I don't care what you think about Josh Heupel, and if he loses Saturday, we're going to talk about this. There's kind of no denying that there's going to be definite naysayers out there. I might be one of them, depending on how they lose, if they lose. But you cannot deny that this guy has just brought these huge moments that the fan base has longed for so long to get back to. We experienced so many of them in the 90s, and just the beating Alabama, now 3 out of 4 against Florida, and finally winning in the swamp, winning at LSU, not tripping over your Kentuckys or your Vanderbilts to this point. I mean, there's been no special moment in any of those games.
Yeah,
but
still.
not screwing that up.
Yeah.
No, we'll see what happens Saturday.
Yeah.
But not screwing that up to this point is certainly worth something. I mean, that's what got all the past guys fired. So, yeah, I mean, he has, regardless of what you think, he's continued to bring these awesome moments, and I gotta be grateful for that, and it's awesome. Now, weirdly, what we're gonna talk about for the majority of the show tonight is this Vandy game that is the biggest game in, I guess it's not the biggest game really for Tennessee, but this is the biggest game in Vanderbilt football history. I don't think what would even be a close second? Like, this is so far beyond anything that this clown program has ever done, that it's unconscionable that this is truly what has happened, where if they win, it's not really a shoo-in that they're going to make the playoff, unfortunately for them, but they should. In my opinion, if they win this game, 100% they should make the playoff. There's no doubt in my mind that they would be a team deserving of that. And it's so crazy that this is actually happening. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that before we get into the actual, minutia of the game. Just the circumstances, the storyline around this is just, again, something I never thought I would see in my lifetime. It's unreal.
Yeah, I think it's a product, and this isn't to take anything away from Vanderbilt, because I do like Clark Lee. I think he's a really good coach. I think he's about the right stuff. He motivates that team well. He cares. He's determined to be a winner. And if Vanderbilt doesn't give him what he wants, I know he went to school there and is from Nashville. If they don't support him the way he feels he needs to be supported to win a championship, he'll leave. He'll go somewhere else. I don't know where, but he pretty much said that, with he was on with Hutton and Withrow and that hot mic show that they do, and basically said that, like, we need alignment, we need all this stuff. So coming into this new NIL world has kind of helped Vanderbilt get into this position, because it just wasn't really possible for Vanderbilt pre-NIL, pre-portal, pre all the restrictions basically being taken off of Vanderbilt. They're kind of able to play with the big boys now, and they're showing they can do that. I don't know how sustainable it is. We'll find out. I think we all kind of think this is a product of just Diego Pavia being a special player and just kind of that Jawan Jennings type guy for Vanderbilt, right? That just brings the rest of the program up. Like, that's who he is. And we'll see how it goes once he leaves after this season. But it is crazy to think that, Vanderbilt was a 2-win team 2 years ago. In 2023, they went 2-10. And now they're on the cusp of the college football playoff if they can knock off Tennessee, which was previously unthinkable, beating Tennessee and Neyland when Tennessee's, a good team. And it's, we'll see what happens this weekend, but it's a game that, Tennessee fans are. This isn't your typical Vanderbilt where it's like, oh yeah, Tennessee's going to win. It's going to be easy. You don't know what's going to happen going into this game. Vanderbilt's played some really good football. They were in that game with Alabama. They could have an even better record than they have right now. They beat Alabama last season. So it's going to be a fun one. It should be a good atmosphere too. I think coming off of that win against Florida will really have the crowd energized. Because I think after that Oklahoma game, we saw it with New Mexico State. Everybody was kind of sleepwalking through that, and you kind of needed that reset. And you hit Florida Week with the right energy. You clearly came out in the swamp and coached well, played well. Just to double back to that real quick before we go all in on Vanderbilt, I thought the play calling against Florida was fantastic. The way that they attacked those two high safeties. The intermediate stuff was so creative. I thought we saw a lot of new looks, a lot of interesting stuff in the run game that Josh Heupel was doing with some of his fullbacks, bringing in some defensive linemen to block. Just some unique stuff that they added in for that game, which is what you want to see, right? We've been begging, just be innovative. We don't know how, but just be innovative. It can't be these deep shots all the time that defenses can just kind of sit back and prevent. And then what do you do if you can't run the ball? All of a sudden you get some of these games like we've seen earlier in the season from Tennessee's offense or really last season. So that was good to see. And then I thought some of the coaching stuff, just to hit on that real quick, I know there was some criticism of Heupel for the sequence before the half. And really the way the second half played out, where Tennessee didn't score any points in the second half. I thought the sequence before the half, and I thought this in real time, and I still think it now, it was 28-0. You would like to see Tennessee be a bit more aggressive there, just given the situation and who they're playing. Florida, like, put this game away. Don't give them a chance to come back in the game. But I do think the only way Florida was really getting back into that game is if they were like plus 14 in the middle 8 of that game, because they got the ball back after halftime. If they score, if you do something like you did against Alabama and you throw a pick six near the goal line and they score, and then they score on their first possession of overtime, well, suddenly it's 28-14, and they just need to stop to be one score away, and we're all nervous at that point. Tennessee came out at the middle 8 +3. So that, to me, was more important than trying to, put your foot on their throat and really run the score up just because of the risk and because of what we saw happening against Alabama. I don't always love that approach. I was very critical of Heupel for the way he handled it against Mississippi State and against Alabama and against Oklahoma in some of these games. But I thought that was probably the right call given the situation. And in the second half, it went the way it did. Some stuff didn't work out for Tennessee. They got behind the chains some, and they didn't hit some plays that they should have hit. But if you watch the Rams play this week, I mean, they were up huge on the Buccaneers on Sunday night at halftime. I mean, it was almost a similar score to the Tennessee game. It was like 31-7 or something, 31-3. I can't remember. And I think they scored 3 points in the second half. Like, sometimes that's just the way those games play out. And for no rhyme or reason, they did what they needed to do, and they won the game. And ultimately, that's really, I think, all that mattered. So I think we can be overly critical of Heupel at times just because we've seen some things, and it's like, oh, he's doing it again. But, I think I think there's a time and place to be conservative. You got to thread the needle between being aggressive and being smart and winning the game. Heupel hasn't always done that well this season. I mean, we've talked about it a lot, but I thought the way he handled it Saturday night was okay. It wasn't perfect, but I thought it was okay.
Going to the comments on YouTube, Eric says, "Good win on Saturday. Doesn't matter how bad Florida is; they always give us trouble." So I was surprised. I agree completely on that. Jason says, "Go Vols." And Ronnie, go Vols. Ronnie says, "I know Vandy is our little brother, but it being senior night, I'm hoping we run up the score." Obviously, we will be giving our prediction here in just a minute. But I do agree with you, Zach. You're not going to get complaints out of me in a 20-point win in the Swamp. Was it the most exciting second half of football? No. Were you ever in a single shred of danger of blowing that game in that second half? No. That Florida team had given all the way up. I mean, they were done. And
except for
down through players.
Except for the running back. I will say that running back, Jaden Baugh, he played.
Yeah. Except for Jaden Baugh, who should transfer to Tennessee during the offseason. 100%. That kid is good at football.
Yeah, he's a good player.
And yes. And
I think Ladway's a good player too. I just think they've totally screwed him up down there. I think he's got talent.
Yeah. He's just out of sorts. And their defense was holding them together, and the defense it was over. I think
that's a defense that played well against Ole Miss last week or the week before.
Yeah.
I mean, they got 5 sacks against Ole Miss. I mean, it's a talented defensive line. It's just for once they were not well coached.
Well, and Tennessee's offensive line just really was giving them the business, truly. And it was impressive stuff. So I will not complain about essentially anything. And a 20-point win in your first win in the Swamp in 22 years. You're just not going to get that out of me. So
3 wins in 50 years is 50 plus years is insane.
Yeah.
Casey Clausen and Joey Aguilar. Do you think it's any coincidence that it's kids. Yeah, I was about to say, do you think it's any coincidence that it's 2 kids from the West Coast who didn't grow up in this that have won those games?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, zero context in Joey Aguilar's mind of what that game means. And that definitely counts for something. Because you're not going to have those jitters. You're not going to have that, oh my gosh, what if we do that? Like, that won't occur to you. And so it took this formula. I'm glad that it happened. Glad you got that down. Florida's in an absolute dumpster, and you should continue. I mean, now you get a chance to beat them 3 years in a row. Well, I guess when's the next time you play them? 3 times in a row. You play them the next time.
Yeah, whenever that
28 or something.
Yeah.
But still, it's just a ton of fun, and it's great. And that leads us into this game against Vandy. And in light of that Florida game, both teams playing well coming into this one. Tennessee having maybe its most complete game of the season, and Vanderbilt coming off possibly its most complete game of the season, just smashing Kentucky. In a game that I really thought Kentucky had been playing better. And
they beat Florida bad.
Beat Florida by 31. It looked like that quarterback had kind of found something. And then they just laid the biggest egg against Vandy. I mean, it was non-competitive. Diego Pavia's mom was like twerking on the sidelines or whatever she was doing.
I've seen that clip like a million times. It's insane. It's all over social media. It's crazy.
It's pretty funny. Let me look at the text. One of my best friends in the entire world is a Vandy fan to the point that he's a season ticket holder. And I texted him and I was like, "Is there any unrest with Vandy fans considering how trashy Diego Pavia's family is?" Because he's had his brothers got arrested outside. I forget where they got arrested, but it was outside one of their games. His brothers got arrested. His brothers showed up to a senior day in tuxedos and were kind of like making a joke out of it. It was a whole thing.
They're crazy. I've listened to them. They have a podcast or something, and I listened to it once. They are wild.
But I asked my friend who's a Vandy season ticket holder, and I mean, it's a perfect response. He said, "You'll forgive a lot of things when you're 9-2." And I said, And I said, welcome to the club.
Yep.
It is what it is. You really do. When it comes to stuff like that, you go, well, he's got a crazy family, but man, he's the best quarterback we've probably ever had in our entire history. So that's pretty fun. So
Sorry, Jay Cutler and Jordan Rogers.
I mean, look, in terms of if the Heisman Trophy, I don't think that he's put up a Heisman season, but if the Heisman Trophy was won based on impact on your team, this dude wins it far and away. I mean, he's carrying these guys. When I was doing promo for the show tonight, I didn't say we're going to be talking about Tennessee's game against Vanderbilt because it's not really against Vanderbilt. This is Tennessee's game against Diego Pavia. Diego Pavia gets knocked out on the first play of this game. Tennessee should win by 30.
Yeah.
No offense to the talent that's left on Vanderbilt's team. They have a formidable offensive line. Their defense outside of the secondary is okay, but this is a Diego Pavia team, and that's it's still Vanderbilt. Outside of Diego Pavia, it's still Vanderbilt. So let's talk about it. Tennessee playing well, Vandy playing well, and I guess to start, I mean, how are you feeling about this one, Zach? Is it because I've been really trying to fight that inclination that I have every time we play Vandy in anything is just like, I mean, it's Vandy, of course. Like, how do you feel about it?
I think I still have a lot of that in me. I'm not going to lie. Just the way I had it the opposite last week going into the Florida game when I picked Florida to beat Tennessee. Man, it is Vanderbilt. You should beat them, especially at home. You handled them pretty well last season. The only reason, and they're a better team than they were last season, obviously, but the only reason they were in that game last season was your 2 turnovers at the beginning of the game, the punt. I think Dylan Sampson fumbled and gave them great field position. They jumped out to a 14-0 lead. And if you can't hold on to a 14-0 lead on your home field, I don't know. Like it's hard to think that they're going to come into Neyland and beat Tennessee. But at the same time, Tennessee should have won that Oklahoma game. I think Oklahoma's a better team than Vanderbilt. Offensively, maybe Vanderbilt's better, but defensively, Oklahoma's so good that if those two teams played in the college football playoff on a neutral field, all the outside factors, are taken away. I'm going to take Oklahoma in that game probably, but the fact that you lost that game does make me a little bit more nervous about this game, I think, because up until that point, the only team you had lost to since 21 at home was Georgia, which is understandable being that it's Georgia. So, and I don't know if that's the right way to think about it. I don't think that Oklahoma game really has anything to do with this game. I think Tennessee's playing better now than they were against Oklahoma over the last couple of weeks. The defense is certainly playing much better over these last 2 weeks. Offensively, you looked really good against Florida and did what you had to do. So I still think Tennessee is the more talented team overall. You have that home field advantage. I think this Neyland crowd is going to be really energetic coming off of that Florida win. I think they really want to knock Vanderbilt out of the playoff. I think there's plenty of motivation. My one worry going into this game was don't be hungover coming off of that Florida win. But to the conversation we had earlier about the Florida game, so many of those players don't really understand the magnitude of that game fully, that I don't know if that'll be as big of a factor as maybe it would have been in the pre-NIL era when you had 3 and 4 year guys and maybe hadn't beat Florida. So all that to come, all those things factor into how you feel about this game. But I just think the home field advantage is going to be tough for Vanderbilt to overcome.
It does feel that way because I don't want to throw shade on Vandy's season because what they've done, it's such a weird relationship with Vanderbilt as a Tennessee fan. Because generally speaking, especially in the last number of years in football and basketball, I don't even think about these guys. Like it's not, and I guess in some sense I mean some offense that way, because in basketball it used to be awesome, and it kind of got driven into the ground. I think their current guy is bringing it back. I think they're getting better in basketball, And that was one thing. They won what in 2011? They won the SEC tournament, beat that super Kentucky team that ended up winning a national championship. I think they've been respectable in a sport like that, but generally speaking, I just don't Florida's our rival, Alabama's our rival, and Vandy is in the same state as us. That's kind of how it's been. And even in this season, what's their best win? Missouri, I think, because the two teams that they played who were respectable teams, they got mashed by, and they held their own for a half in that Alabama game, but Texas pretty much ran them off the field, and then they came back in the last few minutes when Texas was asleep at the wheel.
And Texas has been all over the place
yes,
as it is this season.
But I do think that you saw in that moment, specifically with Texas, the talent disparity. At the end of the day, Vandy still doesn't have that talent. I got to give all respect to Clark Lee. He's done an incredible job. He's done something that I didn't think could be done at Vanderbilt, period. Even against a light schedule, I did not imagine that you could do this at Vanderbilt, what he's done there. I mean, 9-2 with a shot at the playoff is otherworldly for them. But just looking, it's LSU stinks. Even though when they beat LSU, technically LSU was a top 10 team.
Yeah.
But LSU stinks. Missouri's their best win, I think. And then Texas mashed them and Alabama mashed them. Auburn nearly beat them. Auburn should have beaten them, and we wouldn't even be having this conversation right now. And so because of all of that, like I said, I just have a hard time with this feeling of just being man, there's still an element of this just still being Vandy. And Austin Saley, he says it in the comments, Vandy has dudes at the offensive skill positions too. They don't have dudes like Tennessee has, though. They don't. I've watched Vandy play a lot this season. They just don't. They're and I don't even say that to say that Tennessee has super elite dudes at the skill positions.
Well, wide receivers are pretty good.
But exactly. You had three of your guys on in the wide receiver core are in the top 10 in the SEC in receiving yards, and you have the number one guy on your team. And Vandy does not, simply put, they just do not have that type of skill on the wings. Where they do have it, though, is in the trenches. I will 200% give them that, especially that offensive line. They got earth movers, and that's how they've been winning games. In a lot of ways, that's been how they've been winning games. They've been throwing it a lot more lately, though. I'll give them that. A lot more offense. They're not just grinding clock like they have been. Are you concerned about the skill position players?
Well, I think they're going to try to get the ball out to the perimeter and get the ball in their hands quickly and kind of mitigate the pass rush from Tennessee. I would assume that's going to be their plan, and then if the shot's there, they'll take it. But I think you're going to see a lot of quick stuff, and if they get out on the perimeter with some of the tackling issues that Tennessee's had, and it hasn't been. It's been better lately, but Tennessee, that Florida game, that first part of the game there, that 40-some yard pass got called back because of the hold. How many missed tackles were on that play? So that missed tackle thing it's still a concern for Tennessee. Even though it's improved, there are still issues there. They get the ball out on the perimeter and break one. That's an explosive play waiting to happen. So, yeah, I'm concerned a little bit there. I do think that's something that Vanderbilt's, at any point could happen. They could break one off there just because of a missed tackle or something.
I think this is a good point if I can get it to pop up. I don't know if I can. But Chris, in the comments on YouTube, he said, I think Tennessee secondary is comparable to Vandy's wide receivers. Now, I'll give 100%. I'll say that. I don't think Vandy's wide receivers are world beaters, but Lord stinking knows that our secondary is not world beaters. So, yeah, sure. I'll give him that 100%. This entire game is going to be about getting to Pavia, making sure that he can't run on you, making sure that when he does drop back to pass, you smash him.
Yeah, he's got to know you're there. You've got to make him think about Tennessee's pass rush. That's got to be in the back of his head, and you've got to do that early. You cannot let him get comfortable or get into a rhythm. I think that's That's obviously the key to stopping any quarterback, but especially Pavia. You got to knock him out of rhythm early and often.
Yeah, you do. And that, I don't mean to minimize him because Eli Stowers is good. He
Yeah.
is at tight end.
And that's his guy.
But it is. It is. I mean, that's his Jawan Jennings connection there. And they're going to go to that early and often, I am sure. But if you can get to Pavia, this one's over. Like, period. That's kind of the entire thing. He is that team. And I don't mean to be reductive like that, but it's just like that's what I've witnessed with my own two eyes when I watch them play. And so Tennessee's pass rush is powerful, and I like the chances of that. And obviously, Neyland Stadium bearing down on that kid's going to be hard too.
I think the problem with Pavia though is with the pass rush is that Tennessee doesn't do well with these quarterbacks when they get off schedule and they don't get to them. And there's been a few times that Tennessee just hasn't finished the play. They've got pressure, but they haven't finished it. They've allowed the quarterback to get away, and then a big play happens, whether it's a scramble or they find somebody down the field, whatever the case is. And that's where Pavia is really at his best, when he's got to improvise. When he gets out of the pocket and gets off schedule, he can make things happen. He doesn't panic. And that's a trait that can be dangerous on the road in these games is when you have a quarterback that's willing to kind of get out and ad lib it and not panic, and he can make things happen. We've seen it. So that's always where you get nervous, right? I mean, 3rd and 12, you think you're in a good spot, and then all of a sudden it's a 20-yard scramble or a 20-yard pass or a screen pass where you don't make tackles, whatever it is. Tennessee's given up far too many of those this season. And Pavia, that's kind of one of his strengths, is making something out of nothing there.
Yes, and that scares me a ton. That was really the only thing that Florida was able to do, was Lagway and a broken play getting something.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for certain that will happen. There's going to be a 3rd and 14 that Pavia converts with his legs, and it's going to be the most annoying thing. We're going to be throwing stuff at the TV.
Oh yeah.
But just make sure that you minimize that.
Yeah, it's going to happen. I mean, he's out there.
It is.
He's getting paid to make plays too. I mean, he's going to make some plays.
He is. I have absolutely zero. Stowers is going to make plays.
Yeah.
Stowers is definitely going to make plays, and that offensive line is probably going to push you around a little bit. But it's going to be outlasting that. And I don't say any of this to say, it sounds like I'm just dumping on Vandy. I don't say any of this to say that this is going to be a cakewalk. I think it's going to be a close game. I really do. But I do say all this to say you are better. Like, you are more talented. You really saw it, like, in that Texas game that we already talked about. Texas out-talented them, period. And Arch Manning, you have a quarterback that's been better than Arch Manning all season. And which is so crazy to say, given the circumstances of how you came to have this guy as your QB and who Arch Manning is. But that's just the truth. And they got out-talented by Alabama. And then I think almost everybody else that they've played, LSU had a crap coach at the time, and so they were able to beat them. It's kind of the same with Missouri. Talent is probably more comparable with Missouri, with Vandy. And so you just have to take advantage of the advantages that you have in this game, and that is going to be crushing Pavia early and often, minimizing those big plays, and just making sure that offensive line doesn't push you around, because they're all like 25 years old, and
they are the oldest team in the SEC. That's a big part of their success.
Yes, that's a huge factor. And then just this, score points. That's probably my biggest thing. There's definitely a world where this is a total shootout. And I do think that if that starts to develop, I just get the feeling Clark Lee's going to shut down and try to start playing keep away. I think he'll try to take the air out of the ball that way. But you have to capitalize. If they turn the ball over, you have to score. It can't be this, oh, we got an interception, 3 runs and a punt. No. It has to be a touchdown when they make mistakes like that. It has to be – I'm not expecting the efficiency that you had against Florida, but it would be nice, if you can bring that same energy on offense. I don't care if you got to beat these guys 40-39, score and score more points than they do. To me, that's the biggest element, because I do think Vandy's offense is going to get theirs, and it's going to come down to Joey Aguilar.
Yeah, I do think Clark Lee is going to try to limit some of Tennessee's possessions. I think he understands that that's, when Tennessee's at their best is when they're able to, get however many 80 plays in a game out. I think they're going to try to limit that as much as possible with a lot of those short throws that we were talking about, getting the ball out of Pavia's hands quickly and letting playmakers make plays. And if Tennessee, which they've been prone to do, we've seen it a lot, sits back and plays some of that zone coverage where they want to keep everything in front of them, we're going to have one of those games where Vanderbilt goes down the field and then you get in the red zone and you try to hold them to a field goal. And that can work, but if you're limiting your offense's possessions, how willing are you to sit back and let them do that? I think you've got to be more aggressive on defense to prevent that from happening. And you might give up a big play that way, but if this turns into a shootout, I think it works to your advantage if it is a shootout. So you almost got to be willing to take that chance. I think you've got to bring some pressure on these guys and just risk it. I think you do.
I agree. Well, let's get to it, because I do also briefly want to mention basketball. They're playing Houston after this. We've had a few people in the comments mentioning the Houston game. It's starting at 6 p.m. in about 20 minutes. Huge game, obviously a rematch of the Elite Eight. So I want to talk about that quickly. Predicted, Zach, is Tennessee gonna smash Vandy's dreams on Saturday?
I don't think it's gonna be a blowout either, but I do think Tennessee will win the game. Just being at home, you've dominated this series. I do think that matters a little bit. I think it's probably fairly high scoring. I think the over hits in this one, which is like 65. I think it's like Tennessee 45, Vanderbilt 38, maybe. I mean, I could see like one of those Kentucky Tennessee games a few years ago when you beat them in a shootout like that. I think it could end up being a game like that, because I do think they understand that Vanderbilt will try to limit their possessions, and I do think that they will be a bit more aggressive on defense because of that. And maybe they won't. We'll see what the game plan is, but I think they understand what this Vanderbilt team is going to try to do. So, and you win the. I mean, if that happens, you finish at 9-3, and Eric had asked in the comments a minute ago if we would consider 9-3 a successful season. And I think absolutely you do. Given everything that happened coming into the season, I mean, you lost your quarterback. You lost one of your most talented players on defense in Boo Carter. Even though he wasn't dismissed from the team until, after the New Mexico State game, you basically didn't have the best version of him all season. You did not have the dynamic guy that was all SEC freshman team last year. So all that coming in, to this season, and then you miss the field goal. If not for that, you're sitting there at 10-2. Maybe if you win this game, sometimes things just don't go your way. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but sometimes it's just not your year, and that's just kind of the way it felt for Tennessee. But to still battle through that, to finish at 9-3, have a chance to get to 10 wins with a bowl win, and hopefully you beat Vanderbilt. Maybe you get into like the Citrus Bowl or something, just a fun opponent. I've seen one projection was like Michigan, like that. That would be a fun game. Yeah. Tennessee versus Michigan, that'd be great. We would see who would actually play in the game. You never know how that'll shake out, but you win 10 games. That's a huge season. It's the same record as last year, just play out a little different with the way it went, and you didn't get into the playoff. You lose this game, it's tough because it is Vanderbilt, but it's not the same Vanderbilt that we've seen. It's not any Vanderbilt that you've ever lost to before. The Vanderbilts that you've lost to before, you should have beat pretty much every single time. You just had really bad teams. I mean, the Pruitt team that lost to them, the Butch team that lost to them twice, the Dooley team. I mean, those were just not good. They were disarray. It was locker room problems. It was not a good situation. And that was when Vanderbilt was better, at those times. They were on the up under James Franklin and a little bit under Mason. This is better than all those teams. This is the best Vanderbilt team we've ever seen. You should still beat them. I don't really know at this point how I would feel about the loss until it happens, to be honest. I don't think I can give the answer on how I'd feel about the season right now. So I'd have to, you'd have to come back. Hopefully I don't have to answer that, but if that does happen, I'll have a better answer next week.
it is kind of interesting because we've said a lot on this show. When it comes to losing to Vanderbilt, no coach has ever lost to Vanderbilt at this school and made it out alive. It's a canary in the coal mine always. If it's not your final game as the coach here.
Yeah, it was the first sign for Fulmer,
Yeah.
not the first sign for Dooley, but yeah, you're right.
But
Butch,
this is
Pruitt, and all of them.
it is also the best Vanderbilt football team I have ever seen in my entire life, by a long shot. So we will see. If you do lose this game, we'll just have to see exactly how it goes, what happened. Um, I think you win. I think Tennessee does win this game for a number of reasons. Probably the biggest one being how cleanly they played at Florida. That's been in the games Tennessee has lost, that's been such a big factor. Terrible penalties, turning the ball over, looking unfocused, looking like they didn't even practice that week. And they came out so sharp in that Florida game. And here, I mean, you've had this Pavia guy talking trash about you all offseason. I mean, surely they're playing that sound bite over the intercom at every practice the entire time. And that should be more than enough motivation to come into this laser focused. It's at home. Play a super clean game and keep it like that Florida game. I mean, what, 3 penalties or something in that entire game. And that is the foundation that will take you to a win in this game. And then it is Joey has a big game. The wide receivers have a big game because Vandy secondary stinks. They're second to last in passing defense in the SEC. Pass all over these guys. In passing all over them, you should be able to open up the run game for Deshaun Bishop. Deshaun Bishop playing his best that he has all season in that Florida game. Hopefully that continues. And through that, to me, it's all about just scoring enough points to win. Because on the flip side, Vandy's offense is going to get theirs. There are going to be frustrating moments where Pavia moves the ball, probably some big plays with Stowers, and some things that happen like that that are just going to stink. And they might put up 30 in Neyland. And you're just going to have to deal with that. I do, like you, I think they try to take the air out of the ball, and that'll dictate some of the pace of the game and things like that. We'll see exactly how that goes in real time. But I'll say you out talent them. It's in Neyland Stadium. The crowd's going to be bearing down on them, and Pavia can beat his chest all he wants to, but it's a brutal environment to try to be an away football team in, and so I think that all gets to him enough. The defensive line gets to him enough to where final score, I'll say they hold them under 30, just barely. What was yours, Zach? What'd you say?
45-38.
Ooh, that's really high scoring. I'll say 34-28. I'll go there. A little 6-point win. Field goal here or there for Tennessee. Hopefully they're made. The field goals go through the uprights. We had let's see, man with the plan. He says 56-10.
Hey, you never know. We'll see.
You don't.
It was
Darren
interesting.
Tennessee by 17.
Man with the plan mentioned that Tennessee played a 4-3 a lot against Florida, which is they brought usually they only play 2 linebackers, and they played 3 linebackers throughout most of that game, which was a much different look for them. I wonder if they'll continue to do that against Vanderbilt, or if it was just a matchup thing against Florida. That is interesting that they played as well as they did coming out in that formation. I don't know if there's, like I said, I don't know if that's a matchup thing against Florida, or if that's a philosophy thing that maybe Tim Banks is moving towards, but it was interesting. And maybe, I don't know, maybe this defense was evolving as the year has gone along here, and this, they'll be at their best. I mean, they've been better these last 2 weeks, so maybe this will be their best performance of the year. It needs to be.
I've heard people, I've just been listening to different things all week, and people have been saying, did Boo Carter leaving cut out a cancer from the defense, and now they're playing better? I don't know. but they're playing better, and that's worth a lot right now.
Yeah, I don't care why they're playing better; just play better.
No, exactly. Leslie says 42-28 Vols. I like it. 42-34 from Eric. Chris says 42-35. A lot of people are thinking 42 points for Tennessee. I would love it. I kind of feel, I don't know. I don't feel like Vandy's gonna rip off 35 on you. I don't. I don't think you're gonna have enough possessions almost. So I think if you score 42, I think the final score is 42-24. Like you run it up on them a little bit if that ends up happening. Ronnie says 34-28. Jason 38-24. Thank you for the predictions. From our show to God's ears.
Yeah.
Let it be known.
I
Vandy off of their pedestal.
They want to mention real quick because Ronnie brought up earlier in the comments. I think it was right about the time we started the show, is about Joey Agular and joining this suit from Pavia, the eligibility deal. There's a lot of questions about it. Is Joey going to come back in next season? No one knows. No one can know, and it's a weird situation because, when do they rule on that? Nobody knows when a ruling will come down on that. Well, I think we all agree that Tennessee probably needs to get a quarterback from the transfer portal. I don't think you want to go into next season unless Jake Mertlinger stays, which I doubt. Nobody expects that to happen. You don't want to go into next season with a redshirt freshman and a true freshman as your only two scholarship quarterbacks. You need something. I don't know if you go get the best guy that you can get. It depends on what's available, who fits the program. There's a lot that goes into that. The best situation would be Aguilar coming back for another season. That'd be great. It'd be only the second time that Heupel's had the same starting quarterback 2 years in a row. And we know how the second year with Hendon Hooker went. It was one of the funnest years we've had watching Tennessee football is this century. But that makes it complicated, the timing, because the portal opens January 2nd. Is a ruling going to happen before then? I mean, again, nobody knows. So what do you do if you're Heupel? You've got to go plan as if he's not going to be there. So it's a tricky one, because then if you go get someone out of the portal, well, then Aguilar's probably not going to come back, right? I mean, you wouldn't think, or it's tough. So best case scenario would definitely be, I think, Joey Aguilar coming back for another season, being your starting quarterback, not having to rush George McIntyre or Faison Brandon. That would be great. But I don't know how realistic it is just because of the courts. I mean, sometimes they rule quickly on these things, but we've seen Tennessee, saw it with baseball last year with Ozuna, like they don't get in a hurry, or it doesn't go your way. There's no real way to predict how that will go or the timing of it. So it's just kind of a wait and see thing. And if history's told us anything, I wouldn't expect it to go in Tennessee's favor, but hopefully it does.
I hope it happens. It would be the perfect timing. Just like you're saying, the perfect bridge.
And I agree with Eric. Guys. It seems pretty open and closed that he is in the same boat as Pavia. It does seem like automatic. He's played 3 years of Division I football, of FBS football, and 2 years of
and he could make $1 million coming back. I mean,
right.
Massive.
So and I don't know. I mean that it does seem that way, but the Ozuna thing wasn't. I mean, it was pretty similar too, wasn't it? I don't remember the exact details of his eligibility,
I want to say they cited that there wasn't the same earning potential, or
which is crazy because you cannot know that. You cannot know that. Yeah. I mean, anybody. There's just no way. It can be whatever. So you just can't know that. There's no precedent. There's no cap. There's none of these things. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see, like everybody. I mean, Josh Heupel, the whole staff at Tennessee, everybody's in wait and see mode with that.
We'll see. Ronnie says Tennessee 38, Vandy 27. Kyle says 38-31. Go big orange. Oh, just go out and do it. Just win this game. We don't want to have that. What do you do if you lose the Vandy conversation, especially if you lose the Vandy in Neyland? Don't do it. Don't do that.
And more than that, like somebody else already said, you don't want to see Diego Pavia celebrating at Neyland a potential playoff berth. I mean, you don't want that. And that's the reason I think this team will be extremely motivated. Between the Pavia trash talk, which I don't really have a problem with it. He's a confident dude. He's out there trying to win games. I get it. But if you throw that stuff out there, you got to be willing to deal with the consequences. And Tennessee needs to take it personal and use that to motivate them, along with knocking your rival Vanderbilt out of the playoff. The guys that said they're going to run this state, like if that doesn't motivate you to knock them out of the playoff, yeah, I don't know what will. So, and
What will?
yeah, and I think they'll show up with that attitude based on the team we saw in Gainesville last week, because that was a motivated team. They were on a mission. They did what they had to do. They went down there and won that game and shut everything up about the streak in the swamp and all that. And I think that same team will be on the field this Saturday, because I think they got over, okay, we lost the playoff. You kind of, that Oklahoma game, you kind of had to grieve that a little bit and accept that and come to terms with that. Got through that New Mexico State game, and now it's a fresh mindset. It's like, okay, we're past that. This is the mission: beat Florida, beat Vanderbilt, in the season on the right note.
Let's make it happen. Oh God. Oh, I hope that they do it. Just, yeah. Don't make me talk about us losing to Vandy, please. That's all I ask. Let's finish with this just really quickly. I know you got to go, Zach. Tennessee, Houston, playing basketball in about 6 minutes. I love this matchup. What a fun early season game for Tennessee. Tennessee absolutely just destroyed Rutgers. An amazing game out of Nate Mint, an even more amazing game out of Jacoby Gillespie. And that one, that kid is an absolute gamer. And I think this is going to be an incredible test. This is going to be such a great game. And a chance for revenge, obviously, for the Elite Eight. And I'll say this about Houston. Watch them against Syracuse. You have them size-wise. And I think this could be the first game where you really see the front court advantage that Tennessee has. Hopefully, if they play correctly, if they play like they did yesterday, it's what you're going to see in this game. It's going to be very different from yesterday because of Houston's defense, the way that they play. They're completely locked down. They crushed you last year in the Elite Eight defensively. But just size-wise, I think Tennessee should outclasses them at that position. I think Jacoby Gillespie's a star in the making, and will have a chance here to really bring it. Now, in the backcourt, that is Houston. Houston brings back Uzan and Sharp, who you lost to them already last year. But that's going to be such a fun matchup. It's going to be really fun to see how Nate Mint plays his first big test. He wilted a little bit against the kid at Duke in that preseason game, but now he's got more games, more confidence under his belt. I think the game slowed down for him some, and really, really excited to see how he handles it in a game where theoretically Tennessee has a serious advantage on the front court. Number one offensive rebounding team in America right now for Tennessee is. So just quickly, Zach, how are you feeling about this one?
Man, I would love to see Tennessee get a win. Obviously, it would be a huge early season win. I think you're going to be a better team no matter what, just because you play this game. I love these games in November because they don't really have a huge impact on like seeding and where you end up later in the season. But competition-wise, it makes you a better team playing these games early in the season. Yes. So I'm just excited to see Nate Mint, like you said, in this matchup, and to see really, like, okay, what do you have against one of the best teams in the country now that you got a few games under your belt? And he's going to continue to get better, obviously, throughout the season, but it'll be fun to see him play and, just keep it close, and hopefully they win. But if not, no one's panicking or freaking out if they lose this game, unless it's like a blowout, in which case you're like, what the hell? What is that? But yeah. I don't anticipate that happening.
Don't let that happen. Houston's a 3.5-point favorite. ESPN's matchup predictor, this is actually kind of crazy. 65.8% win percentage for Houston after they got taken to overtime by Syracuse. I don't know. I think Tennessee's a little bit more of a complete team right now. Later in the season, I think Houston probably brings it together a little bit more. But they just had to replace so much off that team last year. They still got good dudes. They got Tugler on there still. They got guys, plenty of guys. They have a legendary coach in Sampson. So this game's just gonna be awesome. I'm really excited to watch it. As a college basketball complete and utter junkie, this is one I'm very much looking forward to. So
perfect Thanksgiving week game too. I always love this week with college basketball since I was a kid. It's always a fun week of college hoops.
It's just the absolute best. And then with this tournament in Las Vegas, there's some like we don't know who the next game is going to be, and it's based off of like if we win, but also how much we win by, and some algorithm that they've put it in a computer and it spits out an opponent. I don't know.
Yeah, sounds like
I hope it's
travel
like
ball tournament, like an AAU
yeah.
tournament.
I just hope that it's not Alabama or Auburn. I mean, that's lame. I don't want to play
Yeah,
an
no.
in-conference opponent. Because they're in there too. It'd be fun if it was like St. John's or St. John's lost yesterday, so they may not be an option if you win. But something like that would be fun. We'll see. But that's a show. Charlie Burris, Zach Reagan, thank you to everybody who tuned in, all the predictions for the game, weighing in, going back and forth with us in the comment section. It's always the absolute best. We could not do the show without you guys. We appreciate it every week. That is all. Do not make me talk about a loss to Vandy and Diego Pavia. Don't you make me do that, Josh Heupel. That's all I'll say. I'll leave it on that note. I think Tennessee wins. So we'll see. All right. That's it for us. Thanks to everybody for tuning in, and we will talk to y'all next week.
See you guys later.